Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Richard, again. Today we're going to talk a little bit about faith, and in that we're going to be in Daniel chapter 1. We're going to talk a little bit about Daniel. I might do a couple chapters in Daniel, maybe more than that. And so I'm just going to give you a brief overview of Daniel chapter 1, verses 1 through 7, and then I'm going to read 8 through 21. So basically, King Nebuchadnezzar wanted some people to come in, and those people, well, some young Israelite boys, which ended up being Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And of course, I hope you all know the story of those four people, because it's a very integral part of the story of faith and just for what having trust in God means. And so those boys were in the palace getting trained for 3 years, and it was going to teach then they were going to eat the king's food and drink the king's wine. And of course, Daniel being Daniel, he had other plans. So I'm going to read chapter 1, verses 8 through 21 now. It says, Daniel determined that he would not defile himself with the king's food or with the wine he drank. So he asked permission from the chief eunuch not to defile himself. God had granted Daniel kindness and compassion from the chief eunuch. Yet he said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who assigned your food and drink. What if he sees your faces looking thinner than the other young men your age? You would endanger my life with the king. So Daniel said to the guard, whom the chief eunuch had assigned to Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. They have other names, but I'm not going to call them that. Please test your servants for 10 days. Let us be given vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then examine our appearance and the appearance of the young men who are eating the king's food, and deal with your servants based on what you see. He agreed with them about this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, they looked better and healthier than all the other young men who were eating the king's food. So the guard continued to remove their food and wine, and they were given drinks and vegetables. God gave these 4 young men knowledge and understanding in every kind of literature and wisdom. Daniel also understood visions and dreams of every kind. At the end of the time that the king had set to present them, the chief eunuch presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king interviewed them, and among them no one was found equal to Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they began to attend the king. In every matter of wisdom and understanding that the king consulted them about, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and mediums in his entire kingdom. Daniel remained there until the first year of King Cyrus. So you can see here, Daniel refused to defile himself. It says Daniel determined that he would not defile himself with the king's food or wine. And so, but he had enough respect to ask the chief eunuch himself. He's like, hey, Mr. Chief Eunuch, sir, blah, blah, whatever. I ask that you not give us this food. I ask that you give us vegetables and water as we serve a different king, basically. And so the chief eunuch, and then it says, God granted Daniel kindness and compassion from the chief eunuch. So basically, God was like, he asked so graciously, chief eunuch grant them permission to do this, or I guess, I don't know how God would have done that. And then the chief eunuch said, I fear my lord the king, Nebuchadnezzar, who has assigned you food and drink. What if he sees you looking malnourished? What if he sees you looking scrawny and like different than the other young men? What if you're not looking healthy? And then Daniel said, just test us for 10 days. Let's just give us vegetables and water to drink, and then examine our appearance. And if you don't like what you see, then figure something out. So he agreed and says, alright, you have 10 days. But if you don't look as good as them, or if you don't look like them, no, I'm not putting my life in danger. So at the end of the 10 days, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego looked better and healthier than the young men that were eating the king's food. And here's something: the king's food is the best food in the palace. It don't get better than the king's food. Whatever the king's giving you, it's 5-course gourmet meals. It's name your favorite luxury restaurant. That's it. That's the best food you can get. The best food imaginable is the king's food. And they ate vegetables and water and looked healthier and better than the young men eating the king's food. Doesn't that say something? He had enough faith with God to say, I'm just going to eat vegetables and drink water, and God will grant me the physical abilities to look and feel better and be healthier than the people eating the king's food. That's the king we serve. That's the God we serve. And faithfulness rewarded, chapter 17, verse 17 through 21. It says, faithfulness rewarded. God gave these 4 young men knowledge and understanding in every kind of literature. This happens every time, I swear. Gave wisdom and understanding in every kind of literature. And Daniel also understood visions and dreams of every kind. At the end of the time that the king set to present them, the chief eunuch presented them to King Nebuchadnezzar. The king interviewed them, and among them no one was more wise than these 4 young men. Not the magicians, not the wise men, not the mediums. These 4 young men were made wiser than everybody else in the kingdom. All because they were faithful to the Lord. You can read, I read this in my devotional, I think yesterday. It said, if God was able to be foolish, his foolishness would still be wiser than the wisest of wise of men. And God granted these young men wisdom, his wisdom, so that they can make an impact and do the work of the Lord. And I just want to elaborate a little more on all this. And I'm going to do it real quick. We're all called to be servants of the Lord. And when we are faithful to the Lord, when we are doing the Lord's work, when we aren't defiling ourselves with things of the world, of other rulers, then we will be rewarded from our faithfulness. We will be rewarded by God with maybe wisdom, maybe whatever it is. The Lord will reward your faithfulness. So, through all this time where the world's a crazy place, on your time on earth, remain faithful for the Lord and let Him reward you. Because when you remain faithful to the Lord, you're rewarded with heaven. You're rewarded with a place in an eternal, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. You're rewarded with grace. You're rewarded with wisdom. You're rewarded with heaven. Remain faithful. God will provide. God will reward you. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.